But speaking of FTR, know what we got next?
Oh yeah, that's was a clever segue by me. I didn't misspeak. How eloquent of me.
I know, right? I know you're just
Well,
such a cunning linguist.
Yeah, we had Butcher Blade and the Lucha Bros brothers versus the Young Bucks and FTR, and the heels come out in the pickup truck they stole from FTR. That's kind of a nice little bit of continuity.
Yeah. And it was one of those ones as well where I saw Butcher have the keys around like some sort of chain, and he was very adamant about showing them off, kind of like, look what I have, I've got your property still, so that's interesting, but I'll say why as we get further on. I don't want to jump too far ahead.
Before we get into the story of the match, once again, Sean Spears and Tully Blanchard were in the crowd and observing FTR. And right when the camera cut back in the ring, you could see Cash Wheeler in the background. Yeah, here's a little black glove there. Has picked up a little gimmick for himself, and he does like the four sign.
I noticed that as well. So we got more seeds are being sown here, and so we can comfortably predict 3 of the 4 members of this 4 horsemen homage. And it was shown on, I believe, Twitter or on the news cycles last week that Ric Flair gave this new potential established 4 horsemen his blessing, because Tully and yes, he did indeed. Nice. Because Tully and Arn are actually involved, he gave it his blessing.
Interesting. That's very cool.
Yeah, I thought that was very cool, considering he's a signed WWE talent who's being brought into coronavirus and infested waters constantly for TV. But we're not going to get onto that point. But we'll get to the match, though. We'll get to the match.
Story of the match was beautiful. I feel like before we get into spots, I just want to do my best to recap the story of the match. Mm-hmm. Because at first, FTR start in the ring, and they only tag themselves in. Like, Dax only tags Cash in. And the first time the Young Bucks get into the ring is when they use a blind tag. And then they actually only tag each other. So, there's distrust there. They're working amongst themselves. Like. Mm-hmm. And the breaking point comes when Nick is getting pinned in the ring and Dax rushes in. But Nick kicks out. But he could see that Dax was kind of there for him. So now with a little bit more of an understanding there. They're in this match together. They have to work together to win this. Yeah?
Yeah.
And then they start to work together. And it's beautiful. Because you see Dax and Matt hit moves together. You see Cash and Nick hit moves together. And they do each other's moves. Like they're tag team double moves, like the super kicks, or even a shatter machine between Wheeler and Nick. And I'd like to think, on the one hand, it's they're showing off that they can work together, but on the other hand, I think there's a little bit shade thrown in there too. Like, yeah, you're the second best tag team in the world. I can do your moves as well.
I did notice at one point, though, before they even started to be cohesive as a unit, Nick and Matt done a spot, and Dax marked out, and you can see he fully marks it. He goes, "Oh my god!" Like, you can see him. I don't know. For a second, I thought that was a genuine reaction of his, because maybe he just had never seen that in the ring before.
That was the rope stuff between Ray Phoenix and Nick Jackson, right?
Yeah.
It was a thing of beauty. They both hold each other's arm, and they jump on the second rope simultaneously on the top rope, do a little flourish there. It was... yeah, I would mark out if I was standing 3 meters away from them.
And you know what? There's a real innocent like beauty to that there, and the reason why I say it innocent beauty is because you can see someone who worked in a previous federation maybe wasn't feeling as great about his career choices or his placement in the federation at the time, and maybe fallen out of slightly love with wrestling, and then to be in a totally different place and to see this here, and just that flood of emotion come through. I was like,
Yeah.
it's good to see Dax is happy. It's good to see he's getting excited here. You know, there's like on a very personal level, I'm kind of like, that's cool. That's cool. I like that.
Yeah, that's very cool. And did you also read this week that they weren't allowed to do the spike pile driver in WWE?
Vince is indeed banned it. Any pile driver, with the exception of the Tombstone, has been pretty much banned. And I think he allowed Rey Mysterio maybe twice to do a Canadian Destroyer, because I think when he flips it, you kind of disguise it a little bit as an actual pile driver, but it's a rotating pile driver.
Yeah, it wasn't about pile drivers being banned. I just didn't know they wanted to do the move in WWE. But that's kind of their liberation finisher. And I forgot which podcast they were on where they mentioned this, because they wanted a secondary finisher, because nobody kicks out of the Shadow Machine or the Good Night Express. Is
Good Night Express is yes.
Nobody kicks out of the 3D.
Mm-hmm. It's some of the most protected tag team moves in the business. I believe the podcast you might be referring to was the Inside the Ropes podcast with Kenny McIntosh.
Yeah, that's the one.
I listened to that too as well. It's a great podcast. Great guy as well, Kenny. Not that he's watching this; he's got better things to do. But yeah, no, that was talked about there, and there is a weird. Vince does have a ban on certain moves. He's a bit weird like that. But there was just, like you were saying earlier, that there was some great versatility and interchangeability in the people doing moves. So again, you had I think it was Nick and it was Matt and Dax done a Meltzer driver, and Nick and Cash done the Goodnight Express. So there's like both of them were doing each other's moves, and it was just like okay. And like there was a moment as well where I think Dax went to shake Nick's hand, but then got interrupted by Butcher mid-match.
Yep.
So there was an interesting, as you mentioned earlier, build of trust and respect between the two.
Yeah, and I think we can talk a little bit more about this after the finish of the match, because there was a little bit more, but there was just so much high octane, high adrenaline BS. Like the faces do this thing where they tag everyone from the team in, so now all four of them have the 10 count to do something crazy,
which I think is really smart use of the rules. Like that's understanding you have a rule, and that's going, well, how do I bend this rule, or how do I circumvent this rule even for a period of time?
Yeah,
and I thought that was really intelligent.
Yeah, they hit big superplex, 2 splashes, and they would have won the match if Ray didn't break it up with a splash. And Ray Phoenix does the most holy S-word move I've seen in a long time, because he does a Canadian Destroyer from the inside of the ring to the outside of the ring and flips into everybody standing there. It was the most metal Canadian Destroyer I've ever seen.
I saw that there, and I was watching this during work because I was trying to be as I want to say as versatile with my time as possible to ensure we were getting time to watch it. And let me tell you, just see it. I was in the middle of work on during a call, like not like half listening to the call, just more interested in the match. And I was like, holy shit! And they're like, "Are you okay, John's like, yeah, I just stubbed my toe. Just stub my toe." You know, just casual like that. I think I got away with it.
Well, and we get the finish when Penta dodges a move by Matt. Right, Matt tries to super kick Penta, but Matt dodges, and Penta dodges, but Matt hits Dex Hartwood on the apron by accident. And Lucha Driver for the 3 count. And that's like the interesting story device. They always use this, you accidentally hit someone, and for some reason this is like, oh, you clearly meant to hit me. How dare you deceitful bad person.
Yes.
But FTR are smarter than that apparently. So Dax could see that it was an accident, and they shook hands after the match. That was interesting.
Yeah, like a real strong. It wasn't even like a hesitant show of respect. It was kind of like a just all in. It's like, no, I'm going to shake your hand. I'm going to shake your hand too. And it makes me wonder: are they baby faces, or are they heels, or are they like the Bucks and they're going to be these weird tweeners?
Well, FTR have faced off against a lot of heel teams so far, so that they might be faces, but I want them to be more of tweeners. Yes,
because I feel like they work really well as heels, because they even said themselves, like, we want to get the crowd angry at us, so when you do your super, because this was on I can't remember whose maybe it was like Jericho's podcast, they said this, but we want to get the crowd so heated so that when you do your big flippy move and you 1080 me into whatever this year, that the crowd just loves it. Like they love that you done this to me, you know. They said they want to make the faces look heroic, and the only way you do that is to make the heels look devious, and they like doing that. That's where they feel the most comfortable.
Yeah. So all in all, really, really great match, great storytelling, incredible spots, but kind of shocking finish to me, because in my mind, FTR and the Bucks were like the clear winners.
Yeah,
it was a sure shot deal. Yeah,
I was thinking the same thing as well. Like, I was kind of like, oh, okay, so that came out left of center. I appreciate it though, because it takes the predictability out of the match. You don't want your matches to be too predictable. And it's I think I'm near sure it was I was near sure it was Nick that took the pin, so it wasn't even a situation where that FTR at the pin, so they still kind of look strong in their defeat because they're not the ones being pinned at that point.
Yeah.
So